What's up? FT Live on Stadium. Braun, Pierzynski, Kratz, Eric, and myself will be at Borgata tomorrow, our second home. More on that.
Dude, if you guys don't win,
up.
I'm going to be so disappointed in you two losers.
Is that how you coach?
Yeah, you guys are losers. If you don't win, you lose.
AJ Pierzynski, your favorite coach.
Well, if you don't win, you lose. Right? I don't know. Maybe Ricky
What
Bobby
happens
was wrong.
when there's tons of people in a tournament, though? Does it count the same way?
Yeah, you still lose.
Does it?
Right now, there's only two, so people come on out. It's just you and I
That's not
that are
true.
registered.
That's not true. You're looking at the wrong stats. By two, it's probably like 2,000, but more on that coming up. First off, I would like to say there is a giveaway out. We hadn't done one in like a minute, so and if you're not first, you are last on this giveaway. That is true.
You can't change. Whatever.
What? I'm taking words from my friend. Kyle Tucker's signed baseball plus digital collectible with our friends at Candy Digital. Follow at Foul Territory TV and at Candy Digital on Twitter and repost the post, or retweet is how I call it. And we will randomly select a winner on Friday. So that's coming up. You have not a lot of time left. Okay. Again, Kyle Tucker, signed baseball, digital collectible, could be yours. Enter now. And also, before we start Charge the Mound, I don't want to spend too much time on this, but the qualifying offer is stupid. It's just salary suppression. Does anybody
ever?
Yeah, it happens.
Happened a few times, right?
Yeah. But this year it's 0 for 7. So it is used as baby leverage for a team to be like, oh, well, I'm going to lose a pick for signing this player. I don't know. It's just stupid. I know they were trying to ditch it, Kratz, for the international draft, which doesn't seem like a fair exchange in my mind. But Ohtani, Bellinger, Chapman, Sonny Gray, Josh Hader, Aaron Nola, and Blake Snell, you will all get more than $20 million guaranteed dollars in the free agent market. So congratulations. You made the right decision.
Sonny Gray might be the only one that gets under $100 million.
Wow.
Really?
He's definitely, Sonny's what, 34 or 5? Yeah, I don't know if he gets a hundo, but.
I mean, Hader would be the other one that's close. I think Hader's probably like, I have him down as 100. I have my little cheat sheet, 105 that I think he'll get. Or I think.
That sounds about right. He's got to beat Edwin Diaz.
And I think
Edwin's at about
like
100.
4 or 103.
How many years, though, for Hader? 5 years?
Yes. 5105. It's done. If you want him, you can get it right now. 5105. And I talked you into Chapman, by the way.
Matt Chapman?
Yeah.
God, he's had like 2 or 3 bad years and down years. Not bad, but
they're not bad.
They're down, though.
Elite defense and above average offense with upside. He's coming off a major injury a couple years ago.
Second half.
Yeah.
If you take away like his first 6 weeks of the year, he struggled.
But I could say that in a lot of different ways. I mean, I could say that about Justin Upton's whole career. Hey, let's take out 6 weeks in one of those seasons. And that's when he did all of his damage. You have to look at the whole body of work. That's the back of the baseball card.
I'm looking, but I'm just – listen, I hope Matt Chapman gets $500 billion. But
also, great dude. Doesn't hurt. I know it's not all about that, but I think he's going to be fine. I think people are going to pay for potential and upside.
The camera.
What?
People want to see more
Justin
eyes.
Upton do? Man, why did he get thrown into this?
I just threw a random streaky hitter out there.
He came in hot.
Yeah.
Is that not fair? Justin Upton
you just came in hot. Justin's just relaxing with some tequila.
Yeah.
I like Justin Upton. I'm just saying.
That much you don't.
Now you're angry at him.
It's not fair. Anyway, let's charge the mound. Manager of the Year winners, which we basically already told you about on the prior show. But we can start with Brandon Hyde, who won very convincingly. 27 first place votes. And we all agreed this was who was going to win and who deserved to win, right? Nothing to see here.
Yeah, these were the right picks. They got them right. Brandon Hyde deserved it, and so did Skip Schumacher. Listen, they both deserved it. After we get done with this, I'm going to absolutely blow up your Matt Chapman argument. But these guys deserve it.
Wow, you're rough.
Oh. No, I looked up the stats.
All right, wait, hold on.
I know, we'll get there.
We can swing back to it. We can spend less time on this. By the way, the big thing that I don't want to bury either for our crowd right now is that Russ Dorsey is going to join us in about 10 minutes. Carlos Mendoza, just announced as Mets manager yesterday, will join us in about 45 minutes. So stay tuned. And if you have questions, we are taking some from the respective social media channel of Foul Territory that you enjoy. Anyway, my ADD takes me back to Manager of the Year. So, Brandon Hyde, you won. Great job.
This is listen, Kratz. I think we kind of talked about this yesterday. Like, this is cool and all for these guys, but this is like the most meaningless award in the world to me. I mean, it means a lot on your resume to be like, "Hey, I was Manager of the Year," but guys got fired from being Manager of the Year. They won. Joe Girardi won the year he got fired from the Marlins. Guys like are finalists when they get fired and let go. I don't know. It just seems like, I mean, yeah, you're great. You had a great year as a manager. Like, cool. But it doesn't. Like, Buck Showalter won last year. He gone.
There's a great tweet that I talk about this guy who I read on Roto World, Matthew Pouliot. He said the Marlins have had more Managers of the Year awards, 4 in their 31 years, than 85 win seasons, 3.
There you have it.
I'll take the dubs.
I'm assuming McKeon, Girardi, Skip,
and Donnie Baseball.
Oh, I forgot about Donnie Baseball.
In 2020,
I forgot
they
about
made
Donnie.
the playoffs.
That's right.
Skip did a great job, though.
Skip did awesome.
That was easy for me.
I'm happy for Skip. He's a great dude. He's jacked.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm actually here. I'll give you something on this one. I'm surprised this one was closer than it was. Like, Hyde just dusted the competition. Skip did not. So Craig Counsell finished in second, 51 points. Brian Snitker finished in third, 48 points. And Snitker got a lot of first place votes. So the Braves put together a strong, dominant season. But hello, plugging the same dudes every day and just rinse and repeat. Skip Schumacher had a lot of work to do. The Marlins roster compared to the Braves roster, which one did you like better heading into the season? Kratz?
Snitker just had to stay within the lines on his coloring of his picture. Skip, he was just a blank canvas. He's like, oh man, how are we going to even win the April 3rd game? Snitker was like, can I just copy my last lineup from yesterday and just go ahead and pump out 10 runs and throw another rookie on the mound? That's maybe where Snick probably got some love. His starting rotation was down, but it didn't really matter. They have a great night, awesome. They have a great first half. Elder did awesome, all-star, but his lineup just carried it. So I thought this would have been more of a runaway by Skip, but it was funny because Snick got so many first place votes, and yet he still got third because Counts was getting so many second place votes. It was a weird voting.
Counts, I think, has finished second place like 4 times or something crazy like that. So 4? Yeah, he's just a dominant second place finisher. Who cares? They don't care, trust me, for the most part.
It's just another speech they have to give. They have to go and talk in front of people. Like, they're like, oh, why do I got to go do this? Gosh.
Do they get a trophy?
What? Are you getting lost in your eyes?
Into my own eyes. Look at those things.
All right. Well, while AJ loves himself, we did talk to Michael Young.
I was just talking about baby blues.
Well, AJ loves his corneas. Let's bring in Michael Young, who we just spoke to yesterday for Legends Territory, which is out there for the world to watch or listen to. And Young knows Skip Schumacher well. They give each other shit all the time. So here's MY on SS. Dude's working with limited resources. First year, expectations definitely were not that they're going to make the playoffs. And then he loses his 2 best starters, later in the year.
Right. I mean, just a great job. Honestly, like we talked earlier about like managing and he is perfect. He's earned his way there, right? He's coached. He was a first base coach. He was a bench coach. He's been in a couple of different organizations. Like, he's earned his way. He had a good playing career, played for a long time. Won as a player, has been in the playoffs as a coach, and now to do this as a manager, I'm not surprised at all. He's got an opportunity to do this for a long time, be really, really great at it. But yeah, like to your point, I mean, no one was expecting Miami, with all respect, to do that, especially to come out of the East, right, where everybody's expecting the Mets to really make a ton of noise, and for Miami to kind of sneak in there and take what a lot of people thought was going to be the Mets playoff spot, kind of speaks volumes to the job their players did, and of course the manager's always at the top of that thing. So I'm super happy for the guy. He's a stud, man. He's going to be doing this for a long time.
So much more with Michael Young on the Rangers winning the World Series, heartbreak from 2011, thoughts on Shohei Ohtani, crazy Ken Caminiti story, and a lot more. So you can listen to it now on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your pods. If you want to watch the show on YouTube, it premieres this evening, 7:30 Eastern time. The great Michael Young from the Texas Rangers. All right, let's flip right to our poll question. WatchStadium.com/foul territory. Oh, we'll get to John Fisher because he's a man of the people. He spoke to the people.
Mm-hmm.
They can't speak back.
It's been a rough year for John Fisher.
They can't speak back.
all those games he went to in Oakland, all those times he showed up, supported the fans. I mean, he's had it rough, man. I feel sorry for you, John.
I want you to save this, okay? Save this energy up because we're going to spend a good 10 minutes on it. John Fisher's comments yesterday with the crowd that he ran into. A, clown. B, sell, which is tough to decide between those two. C, Vegas, please. Russ Dorsey joining us on the other side. We'll talk about Tim Anderson. And yeah, we can ask him about Matt Chapman's free agent case too. Why not? Hey, Russ. DeMarlo Hale was just hired by the Blue Jays as their associate manager under manager John Schneider.
My guy. Well, I've known DeMarlo for 30 years.
Yeah, he's great.
Love DeMarlo.
And he was with Gibbons in Toronto.
I actually thought he would be the guy to. That's who Tito wanted to replace him.
Okay.
His manager. If Tito had any say, he would have told the Guardians to hire DeMarlo. Great guy. Great guy. Knows baseball. Been around it forever. My guy.
What's
DeMarlo, one day he'll
manager?
get a job.
What's associate manager?
It's like
is it like offensive coordinator?
No, that's Don Mattingly.
Okay.
I wonder who the defensive coordinator. It's like football. They have a special teams coach, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, head coach, and associate head coach.
That's new, Kratz. Are they trying to change the game?
No idea what's going on. I'm not sure what the actual logo is, but I feel bad for D because I think D should be a manager. I don't know him as long as you know him, AJ, but he is awesome. And he just hasn't been always the bridesmaid, never the bride. But now he's got to carry the moniker of an ass manager. That's what it's going to, break down to. You got to change the name, D. Like, you got to ask him.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't like associate manager. It's very long. There couldn't have been something else.
What does he do? Like, what? He's not the bench coach. Who's the bench coach? It was Mattingly, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And now he's the offensive coordinator.
Yeah, he's the offensive coordinator, unless he gets one of the open jobs.
Maybe they just didn't want to name DeMarlo the bench coach, so they made up. It's Canada though. Everything's a little bit off up there in Canada. The ketchup tastes a little different. I don't know.
They changed the R in front of the E.
Yeah,
that kind of
stuff. You watch Sports Century and it's offense with a C. Like it's a little bit different up there.
Color with a U.
There's a manager, a general manager, and now an associate manager.
And now back to foul territory.
Back on Stadium, Braun, Kratz, Pierzynski, and Russ Dorsey back with us. Russ, what's going on, dude? Let's actually just jump right into free agent talk. So you put out there Tim Anderson's willingness to play some second base, which, of course, opens up more suitors for him, too. What do you think about his case this offseason, coming off a brutal year in terms of his numbers, but also if you look at the previous 4 or 5 years, they did a pretty deep dive recently. I mean, it's been pretty damn good. You want to talk batting average, and I mean his sprint speed was down a lot last season, but I think there was a lot going on with his knee, with off the field issues, etc. What do you think?
Yeah, I think when you look at Tim Anderson, obviously being able to position yourself at short and second base helps out his case in a market that doesn't have a ton of middle infield depth. If you look at the market, it's TA, you have Paul DeYoung out there, Kike Hernandez, depending on where you want to play him, Brandon Crawford, but does Brandon Crawford want to come back and play still? He's also 38 years old. So I think it's a good situation for Tim Anderson to be in at 30 years old. He's a guy that did have a really down year last year. He was one of the worst offensive players in the big leagues. But to your point, Scott, the previous 3-4 years before that, this guy won a batting title, all-star. And if you want to bet on a guy who did have some injuries last year and the previous year and is only 30 years old. You put him at second base, a little less pressure on him as he gets older, and maybe give him a 1-year deal. I think it's a good bet for a team that doesn't need Tim Anderson to be the guy.
So what does that look like? What does that look like for a team? Like, if they need a second base help, are they willing to go 2 years, or is he more not willing to go 2 years because he would like to come back on the free agent market again next year?
Depends on who that team is, right? Because if you're looking at a team like that's a contender that says, hey, we need a stopgap for a year, TA, you can come in, build your stock back up, play for the postseason, I would think that any free agent would be more inclined to do that. I don't know if there's going to be a team based on everything we just talked about with the year that he had and some of the injuries that would go multiple years. Maybe that's out there, right? You get yourself in a bidding war in a market that doesn't have a ton of middle infielders. But I think you're probably looking at a 1-year deal for TA.
I can't imagine, Russ, any team going more than 1 year plus an option maybe. Just because I'm looking at his numbers from last year, and again, these are the basic numbers, but I'm sure you probably looked at these, but take a guess what his OPS plus was last year.
75?
60. He hit one homer last year in 524 plate appearances. His OBP 286, his slug 296.
But project forward. You're telling me you think he's done, or do you want to look before that? I'm just saying.
All right, so the year before his OPS was 734, right?
He's never been a high OPS guy, though.
Yeah, he's always going to be a guy who swings his way on base. Yeah,
true, but that's the thing. His defense was not good this year.
Well, he's moving to second.
Okay, I mean, is it just everyone just automatically assumes you move from short to second, your defense gets better?
It does.
No, stop.
Shut up. Like, it just doesn't automatically get better.
No, it does.
Actually, second base for a lot of guys is harder than shortstop.
Not for Tim.
Okay. Well, you just want Tim on the Angels, so say
yeah, you're
WBC.
Yeah. And then
I didn't say one thing
and
then
McNeil played. Remember the game McNeil played, and he was like sitting in the corner. Remember, and like they showed him, they kept showing him, and he was like sitting by himself. It was really awkward. Everyone else was, remember that game, Russ, in the WBC where Tim played second, and then they played McNeil at second the one game, and they kept showing Tim, and he was like sitting in the corner by himself, like with his arms crossed. Remember that? It was super awkward.
Find it and send it to me.
It was weird. But Tim
wants to play.
Tim, of course he wants to play. But Tim was given every opportunity. The White Sox. I'm actually shocked the White Sox didn't pick him up for the $14 million, because he's been there. They know him. I know he went through some stuff off the field. I know he's going through some stuff. He went through the Jose Ramirez thing. But for me, if I'm the White Sox, and listen, they can spew whatever they want to spew, they're not competing next year. So why would you not get Tim Anderson? You just let him go for nothing. Sign him for the $14 million. It's not like it's $34 million. It's not like, $14 million is not a huge number in today's game.
But he's going to sign for half that.
Okay. But let's say he goes to spring training, he goes off, he gets into the first month. You can trade him and at least get something back for him.
Okay, so let me present a scenario. Let's say 1 year, $8 million from the Angels or something like that. The White Sox can call him and say, hey, dude.
That's not happening.
1 year, $10 million.
It never happens.
Okay, but what if he gets that call? He says no? I mean, I think he needs a change of scenery anyway, Russ. Yeah. I think he's been at one org for a long time. It's been a toxic culture there in general with the White Sox lately. Let him move on. I mean, change of scenery is a great thing in baseball more than maybe any other sport.
I agree with you, Scott. I think I don't think the White Sox thing is happening. I'll tell you that right now. I'm with AJ on that one. I think for him, depending on how many teams are out there, he's going to be able to say, all right, let me sit down and say, all right, is it the Angels? That is the team that I've heard that is out there. Obviously, it's been reported. There's some other teams that have been poking around, not ready to report on those teams just yet. But imagine one of those teams that was poking around at him at the deadline, circle back. When you don't have to trade assets, you can just spend money. I think for Tim Anderson, it's a prove it year, right? Go out there and prove to people that, one, you could stay healthy, and two, you can bounce back and be the offensive player that you have been the 3-4 years prior to this past season.
All right. Over under. White Sox traded. I'm setting it at 2.5.
2.5. I'm trying to count how many tradable assets they actually have on that roster right now.
Cease, Bummer. Cease and Bummer are the two big ones.
Cease, Bummer,
Robert.
Aloy.
They're not trading Luis Robert.
No.
Aloy would be one, but I don't know they're going to want to sell low on him. They're not going to trade Luis Robert. He's locked into a great deal.
There's 4 possible, and I said
Bummer,
it at 2.5 because
Aloy.
I think Bummer. I think Robert's on that list. You can't not listen to Robert.
He'd be the guy you get the most
full-on-
for. I just have a hard time believing, based on the contract situation, that you're not rushed to move Robert. You know what I mean? Like, if you wanted to start the season, say we're going to have Luis Robert on the roster, or we don't want to trade Luis Robert at all, you see how the first half goes. You know how losing affects guys' psyche, and you say, hey, if we can get this guy to a winning situation. But are you going to trade a guy who's one of the premier center fielders in the game?
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to, but how far away are you from actually contending for something? Not just we're going to go out there and compete. Every team says that. Are you competing for a championship, or are you competing to not get blown out on a nightly basis? Right? I think that's the question they got to ask themselves. You got to be really honest, right? They were honest with themselves, saying, hey, we got to turn the page from Tim Anderson. So now that you've done that, hey, what are you looking at as far as Andrew Benintendi, right? Like, what are you looking at as far as Robert and Cease, who you didn't feel rushed to move at the deadline? I think they need to have these honest conversations about where they are and where they're going.
I think Benintendi can't move because they're not gonna pay down money when they just signed him.
Largest contract in history of White Sox.
And my thing with Luis Robert, Kratz, is they did a scrap it all down and rebuild situation. It didn't work. They're about to do it again, because if you trade Robert, that is the total white flag. That is telling your fan base, don't come. Don't show up for a few years, okay?
Listen,
just forget about us. We don't exist.
The White Sox
have to have somebody like that to still build around. Plus, he's not old. I understand you can get stuff for him, but when does getting stuff for guys get old? Just because there's a new GM who's been with the team for a while?
Who said he doesn't like the team? Who said he doesn't like the team? He doesn't like how it was built? You're not going to go out and get
tell him to go
guys.
say he doesn't like 26-year-old Luis Robert, who's a total 5+ win player. He loves him.
One of
What's not to
26,
like?
though. That's one of 26.
Russ, you know
one of
this. You're in
26.
Chicago. Russ, you're in Chicago. The White Sox just blew up the team pretty much at the trade deadline last year. Okay, they fired the GM. They brought in a new GM who, let's be serious, the fans weren't very happy about who they hired. This is not. These are facts. Okay. They just lost their TV. They just lost their TV guy to a division rival, Jason Benetti, who many people consider one of the best. I've worked with him. I love that guy. Right now, you're going to go to the fans and say, "Oh yeah, by the way, we're going to get rid of our 5-tool center fielder who's under a great contract, and we're going to start over again
in a bad division.
That's winnable if we spend money.
The Twins are cutting payroll.
Dude, can I just tell you that there would be an absolute fucking implosion by the fans? They're already doing it. You can ask Russ. If you go on Twitter and you go on whatever, there's already basically a whatever you want to. I don't know. I don't want to say a riot because it's not the right word, but there's like a uprising of White Sox fans, like uproar, because they're like, I am not buying season tickets. I am not going to games. They canceled. They're not doing Sox Fest again for the second year in a row. Like, I think the only team that not doing it again. So it's just like, what? They have to keep somebody, and Luis Robert is who you got to build your team around.
I hear you, and I'm with you. And if I had to say definitively one way or another, if I felt, hey, are they going to move from that? I don't think they're going to move Luis Robert, right? It just doesn't make sense based on where the contract is, the value in that deal based on what he signed for when they got him. Somebody has to go out there and play center field. And so for me, I think, yes, to Kratzy's question, are they going to move guys? Yeah, I think you have to, right? Because you can say everything you want about going out there and competing, but the reality is Chris Getz was honest. Hey, I don't like this roster and how it was built. Then you have to do something about that if you're the GM of that team. So I think the team's going to look different by the time those guys get to Glendale in 2024. It's just a matter of who's playing short for them. I imagine Roberts in center field, and who's in that rotation.
2.5, over or under?
Over.
Under. I think most teams and
Under.
GMs say they're going to do stuff, and
Under.
then they don't. You know, when we had all the Yankee conversations going on the past week with Cashman's comments, I looked back when they signed Carlos Rodon, and so they got Rodon and re-signed Judge last year. This was what they said when they signed Rodon. Like it was like something along the lines of, "We're just getting started, more to come," right? From Hal Steinbrenner. They did literally zero after that. Even if they wanted to do something, it's just not that easy to just call up another team and make a deal or make a signing. Like it's not easy. So I just think the White Sox
I just think they
trying.
have some movable assets.
Yeah, they do.
That are
I'll take the under too.
And Aaron Bummer
two,
would be very valuable to a team,
including their own.
And they already showed they're selling high on Jake Berger. Got rid of Jake Berger. Like it should mean anybody that has a hint of value should be available as the White Sox.
They shouldn't be in the untouchable. They shouldn't be in the untouchable business right now.
You are rebuilding. AJ said they were rebuilding at the trade deadline. They broke it down, so why not break it the whole way down? Anyway, we're cutting straws on this one.
Okay.
Yeah, let's move on.
All right, I got two other things
I'm over White Sox stimulator right now.
Oh, let's talk about the Cubs then.
No, we're not talking about them. I'm over Cub too.
No, we're going to go to a much rosier picture. Let's actually just go straight to Oakland. John Fisher spoke to the people yesterday. We're going to spend some time after this, Russ, going over our thoughts, but wanted to give you the stage because you're not allowed to talk to John Fisher. No humans are. He's maybe not even a human. I don't know. He wouldn't allow the people to ask him questions, but he spoke. And, we should feel bad for him. What do you think?
To say that I've been hurt more than you have as fans is wild for somebody to say. I don't know what value he feels that he got from saying something like that. And I think everything we've seen from the Oakland A's organization in the last couple of years tells you everything you need to know. And a fan base that spends their hard-earned dollar, has watched teams there in Oakland for decades and teams be successful. And now you look at a team that has to go out there and on a nightly basis, fans don't expect that team to go out there and be able to compete. Like we talk about that word compete all the time. Like, what does that even mean to an Oakland A's fan, right? Okay, we lost 105 games. And we're going to do that for the next 5-6 years. And then there's this unrealistic expectation that, okay, they get to Vegas and all of a sudden they're going to start spending money and then they're going to start winning. Like, it doesn't necessarily work like that. So it's really unfortunate that that's the way things have gone there. I think it sucks that the A's are going to leave Oakland and go to Vegas because it's an organization that has such a rich history. And I just think you do yourself a disservice as an ownership group when you tell your fan base that cares about your organization, that cares about your franchise, that listen, the last couple of years has been way harder on me than it's been for you. And like, it's unfortunate. It's sad.
We always ask owners to talk more. And then when they do talk, they're so out of touch.
Yeah.
That it seems like we shouldn't have them talk, and yet I want them to talk. I want the John Middletons to come out and talk about how he has a bag of baseballs and he's throwing them to fans. I want a Steve Cohen to talk about the fact that, you know what, he did screw up, the way the path of the organization went, and now he's going in another direction. Like should owners be not more accountable to fans, but more like in touch with what fans want?
Be human beings, right? Yes. Yeah. I think something that, and this is, it's unfortunate that it happened this way, but I think it goes to this point that we're making. I think in the last 24 hours, you've seen the respect that people had for Peter Seidler, owner of the San Diego Padres, who loved baseball, who loved people, and who wanted to show fans time and time again, I care about the things that you care about. And I'm going to show you I care about the things that you care about. And I think sometimes we get caught up in the money because, yes, that's a big part of it, especially when you own a baseball team and you have to invest in that product. But I think Peter Seidler showed fans that, man, I love baseball just like y'all do. And I think fans have had issues with ownership groups more and more as time has gone on, because the farther we've gone, the more it feels like these ownership groups don't necessarily care about baseball, don't necessarily care about the product that's out there. And it's just a line on an Excel spreadsheet. And so I think when you have owners like John Middleton and Peter Seidler who say, no, I want not only a team that goes out there and competes, but competes for championships. And I'm going to do everything in my power with the resources that I have, with the resources that my partners have, and we're going to try to make you proud as a fan base.
So part of this coming up is that the owners are going to vote yes, we're cool with the relocation, we're not going to charge him for it, we just want to move on, we don't even know if this is the best option, which was the crazy part. They did the research, and if you read the article from Evan Drellick in The Athletic, I mean, it was not super convincing, at least from the people that he spoke with, in terms of what they thought was going to happen there. So my question is, do you think that fans will travel there? Because I think the A's brand is shot, and fans in Vegas are going to reject the team. You know, it's like, I don't know. It's like, you know how like animals, like there's certain animals where it's like the mom will just like reject it or some shit. Maybe, I don't know where I'm going with this, but
what are you talking what is Russ? What's he talking about?
AJ took me to a festival this weekend.
I saw.
Do you think Vegas fans are going to be like, oh, this is just like the Knights, this is awesome? Like, I think most people in Vegas are going to be like, we don't want this piece of shit brand from this owner that I cannot root for. This is not us. And so I think that alone is not being factored in, that you're not going to get people being like, oh, I'm going to travel here and spend 3-4 days going to a series. Like, sure, you'll get the Yankee fan that happens to line up being there, but other than that, I think they're in for a very rude awakening.
Here's my thing, Scott. You're a young dude. You outside. You're in the streets. Like, if you had the option to go to a Vegas A's game or go see Usher in concert down the street, you know what you're doing. And it's not going to the A's game. And I also think a lot of people, there's many people who live in Vegas that are transplants. They already have their team. So I think it's going to be a lot harder of a transition than many people think right now.
Why are the owners pushing this through? Is it because, well, they all say, you know, if we want to do this sometime, then we don't want to block this guy? Is this just a good old boys club? Is this something where they're going, you know, well, I'm okay with, because they're going to start getting revenue sharing because they're now going to the smallest TV market and the revenue is going to be so much smaller. So the owners are kind of hamstringing themselves.
I don't necessarily have the answer to that one, Kratz. I think when you look at the fact that Tampa had a plan where it's like, hey, we're staying in Tampa, we're not leaving. Then it's like, all right, so now that's off the table, the A's. And you couldn't figure out anything else or expansion, things like that, until you've handled the A's issue. So then you look at, well, what other viable markets are there to even have a baseball team? I know Nashville's been thrown out there. People talk about Charlotte all the time. You go back to Montreal. Like, I don't know how many viable options are there that you can viably go to in the next 5 or 6 years outside of Vegas. Is a situation that I think they've been in. Like, I don't know what's a realistic alternative to Vegas to people in the game.
Yep. That's fair. Just it's listen, I've said this before. Some of my best friends live in Vegas. Every person they've talked to, every person I've talked to there, they want no fucking part of the Oakland A's. They want their own team like they got with the Golden Knights. If you even look at the Raiders don't do that well. You know why? Because the Raiders people are still the Oakland, the LA old Raider fans that are coming. A lot of the Las Vegas people, they go to watch other teams. Like, let's say the Bears are there, or the Rams are there, or the Chargers, or whoever they're playing. Those are fans of their team, and they make a special trip to Vegas. In baseball, there's so many damn games. It's hard to plan a trip around. I'm going to go watch the Yankees play the A's in Vegas. Oh, it's in Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. People are like, no, I got to work, dude. Like,
so different.
Yeah, it's a different
games versus 10.
So speaking of people that are going to be on the move here, Russ, Matt Chapman. Okay, Scott thinks that he's going to be the highest paid free agent besides Shohei Ohtani on the market.
That's slander. That's not true.
It's not slander. It's true.
Nope. There's pitchers that are going to get more. Bellinger's going to get more. My point was, and I was right at least on this front, both of you guys said, oh, he should take the qualifying offer. No, he shouldn't. If he's stupid, he should take it. But read the market. There's barely any position players available. Elite defense has shown an ability to be a star player.
Okay.
Is still an above average hitter, even in a quote down year. Great clubhouse guy. Scarcity with position players. Russ, how am I doing?
All right, Scott. So I was listening in when you made your case for Matt Chapman. First month of the season, OPS over 1,100. Fantastic. Elite defense and everything. From May to the end of the season, had a 659 OPS. And I know for a fact that that is going to scare some teams. They know everything that you said about being a great clubhouse guy. Check. The defense is still there. Check. He's only 30 years old. Check. But I know there are going to be some teams that say, man, coming off a 659 OPS after April, it's going to be tough. Now, I think he does, like you mentioned, benefit from the fact that it is a down market for position players. And being a guy that's not over the age of 30 yet, I think he will benefit. And I think Matt Chapman will be fine. Still get a multi-year deal, still get paid and all that. But I don't know if he's necessarily going to break the bank. Maybe he will. And maybe I'll be wrong, and maybe you can do a victory lap in the next couple of weeks, Scott. But I just think you have to acknowledge after May 1st to the end of the season, 659 OPS.
How much do you think he's getting? Okay. What's breaking the bank? Let's throw numbers out here. Because I'm not talking about the player going forward. All I was talking about, I'll be very clear here, is that qualifying offer, ridiculous for someone like him, given the market, and his representation knows that, and he is going to be nicely paid if he wants. Sure, there'll be teams. Also, remember, it only takes one to be interested at a certain level, right? And there definitely will be teams that will try and throw something shorter for a higher average annual value his way. But I bet you there will also be some teams that throw him a longer-term offer out there. And I'd say at worst case scenario, he's not getting what he wants. He still gets a deal that's at least a few years with an opt-out after year 1 or 2. That's my point. With a guy like this, you don't have to do the 1-year platform deal, because I think he's earned enough to be able to say, hey, sign me for 3 years, 60, and I get an opt-out if he's not getting to the, say, 100 mil that he wants.
Okay. I hope Matt Chapman gets every dollar there is. Okay. I hope every player gets every freaking cent they can get out of every year, because it's a short window that you're allowed to make money. On this one, though, with Russ, I'm looking at his last 3 years. I'm not looking at just the last year. Okay. 2021, 716 OPS. Okay. 2022, 757 OPS. 2023, 755 OPS. Now, let's not forget he also had hip surgery, right? I think he had a shoulder problem at one point. The hip thing is the one that would scare me. I know he's won a Gold Glove, but Gold Gloves, once you win one, you kind of win a bunch in a row if you're just healthy and stand out there a lot of times. And Scott's going to say no, but trust me.
No, that's bad.
I disagree with that.
Also, guess what? I'll drop this.
He's a great defender. He's a great
You guys
defender.
are missing the boat on the offense, too. Can I tell you why?
17 homers, 54 RBIs is elite offense?
You're looking at the wrong
numbers.
In
Toronto? Holy shit.
Russ, you talk to plenty of front office people, right? Mm-hmm. And most of them are not former players. They're stat people these days, okay? They're looking at numbers, and they're trying to project forward. Average exit velocity for Matt Chapman this past season. I'm telling you what people look at that are making decisions.
Dylan Lawson's on line 2 calling you right now, the guy you blasted. Go ahead.
You think he's the only one that's into the numbers I'm going to list? I'm the messenger. I'm telling you what teams value, including, yes, the Yankees very much so. Average exit velo, 98 percentile. Barrel percentage this year, 98 percentile. Hard hit percentage, 100 percentile.
So he was unlucky.
Check his angle. That's his angle.
Listen, I can find a stat to make anything look good or bad.
I'm telling you what front offices are going to look like.
In the afternoon, when the grass was wet and the sun was at a 22-degree angle. Tell me that.
Russ, tell me I'm wrong. Tell me that there are not half the front offices, at least in baseball, that are going to drool over those numbers and think that they're going to tap into another level here, because he's also had good production in the past. It's not like this is a bad baseball player either. Like, we just went from Tim Anderson's 60 OPS plus this past season to Matt Chapman's, what was he this past season? 110 or something like
108.
that? 108. Okay. Help me out here.
You're right, Scott. Front offices look at those numbers. However,
everyone.
I just think that they're going to have both sides of the coin. They're going to say, all right, he crushes the baseball, maybe hit into some bad luck after May 1st. However, those numbers are staggering after May 1st. And like AJ mentioned, if you look at the last 3 years, all right, what are we looking at? Are we looking at an above average offensive player going into his age 31, 2, 3, and 4 season? Or are we looking at a guy who had his peak in that year we had the 750 OPS? I think teams ask themselves questions like this, and then you have to make the right decision for you. Are you going to make what you might consider a gamble on a guy who you haven't seen have that consistent offensive production? Or are you going to say, hey, we love the glove, but we can't risk making that gamble on a guy we don't know can do that for the long haul? I think teams ask that.
Real quick, Russ, before we let you go, we're
Yeah.
having Mendy on Carlos Mendoza. What's the one question that Russ Dorsey would ask Carlos Mendoza, new manager of the New York Mets?
I would ask, after everything that happened, everything that he saw happen with the Mets in 2023, how does he as a manager come in and put his stamp on the 2024 Mets to turn the page? Simple as that.
Love it.
Good
Okay.
one. Let's go, Matt Chapman. I hope you get every dollar. Let's just.
He's going to be a Cub. Matt
just
Chapman
say-
to
you
the
guys-
Cubs.
Give me
Let's just
numbers.
say, Russ,
Give me
let's-
numbers.
let-
Then we
Russ,
gotta
I'm
go.
just gonna
Give me
say-
numbers. What's he getting? Give me something.
He's going to get four.
Over under
he's gonna
$50 million.
He'll get over 50.
Okay.
But he has to have an opt. They'll do opt outs or something. I feel like it'll be like a 480.
Is that better than 120?
Yeah, but I'm just saying if he
1 year 20.
we never said he should take the qualifying offer. We said he was the one that, if you look at it, should have thought about it more than the rest.
Thought about it. I'll take 80.
Oh my god!
Come on, we gotta go. What do you guys got? Give me a number. Give me a guess. Give me something in a ballpark.
I'll do AAV. Maybe you're looking at somewhere between 15 and 19 a pop, depending on what the years look like.
For 4 or 5 years? 5 years, 20. That's 100.
I just don't know
100.
if a team is going to go 5, but we'll see.
Okay.
5 years, 18, with an opt out after the first year.
Cool. Okay. I like it. We'll see what happens.
Cubs to the Cubs.
Russ, thank you.
Thanks, Russ.
See you guys.
Cheers. See you soon. Good debate. I like it. We'll be back with more on John Fisher.
Gosh, they have.
I think they need a left-handed reliever. I mean, they've struggled to get a lefty reliever for I don't know how long. I mean, last year in the playoffs, they didn't have a lefty reliever in the bullpen. Did they go after Aroldis Chapman, a guy who's like villain number one here at Minute Maid Park with all the battles he's had with the Yankees and now the Rangers? I would sign a back-end starting pitcher. I mean, they go 6-7 deep in starting pitching, but they got McCullers coming off an injury, Luis Garcia coming off an injury. You know, I think we saw last year, and they were probably a starting pitcher short from where they would like to have been. They're going to sign a backup catcher. I still would like to see them probably sign maybe another position player, a left-handed bat, to come off the bench and help out. I mean, you know, that's a lot of things at that point. You got a payroll that's already, up close to $200 million, but they're not far away. I mean, they just need a couple of tweaks, and they won 90 games last year and had tons of injuries. Like I said earlier, this could be a 100-win club next year with just a couple of moves here and there.
This team is they're self-sustaining. So did it really matter who they hired? And maybe that's why Joe got the job?
Yeah, I think it matters. I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, you could probably roll me out there and they would win, 85 games probably, or, if I didn't mess it up too much. But, there was also a little bit of a disconnect with Dusty and the front office, I think, that, led to, some things maybe not going on in the field as well as the Astros would have hoped. And I think that new GM Dana Brown and Joe are very much aligned. Dana Brown wanted somebody who's a communicator. He used the word collaborative a lot. I don't think that was always the case with Dusty Baker. Dusty had done this for a long time, did things his way, and hey, he earned that right. I mean, he's won over 2,000 games now as a World Series. He did things his way, but that not always was the way that the front office wanted to operate. So, I think things are going to be a little more collaborative now. But the Astros returned 8 of their 9 starting position players. They return their entire starting rotation. They return their closer and their setup man. They're not going anywhere. But if they're healthy, it's a team that should be a 100-win team, a team that should be right there with the Rangers once again, in what should be a very wild AL West race next year.
And now back to foul territory. He's 170. If he's 175, then Matt's 125. We're still going. Let's find something that we can all commonly agree on.
Oh, we hope Matt Chapman gets every dollar he can get. That's what we commonly agree on. How's that for an answer?
And
How about?
And we're not trying to say that he's an awful player. Listen, he's a really, really good player. People take this the wrong way. Scott mainly. We're not trying to say he's a bad player. He's a really good player.
Never said that. I just said you guys were wrong on money. That's all. I'll stand by that the entire time.
Stand by.
Let's move on.
Man.
That's what he said. Because Russ gave his thoughts, and I thought he was great. But I'd like to give ours while we have a few minutes, and we get ourselves ready close to talking to Carlos Mendoza. I'm surprised that John Fisher spoke, period. I didn't know that he speaks. And yes, we're covering this a lot because how often do teams relocate with a situation like this? This is a real-life movie. So the A's owner met with protesters, and yes, the quote that you heard us poking fun at was real. He said, "It's been a lot worse for me than you." Anyway, I just want to let you know, I appreciate you guys being here. I appreciate the passion you have shown. Oh my gosh. This is the clown of all clowns. And to say a comment like that could not be further from reality. I'm sorry. This has to stop. He has tarnished a very good brand that actually had really good teams in the past. Okay? Some very successful teams. There are actually A's fans besides in the Bay Area that root for Oakland. Some of them growing up maybe being a McGuire fan in his early days, right? This brand is distraught right now. And I guarantee you, when it goes to Vegas, they will reject it and say, I'm not rooting for that man. Everybody I know knows who this guy is, which is insane to me. They know who the owner of the team is. This is a daddy money loser, and he continues to lose.
Shouldn't there be more accountability with his fellow constituents? I don't know if I'm using the word constituents, but the fellow owners, don't they get some culpability here? Don't they get a little bit of the blame? Like if I'm a fellow player and another player is out of line and we're having a players meeting, is it if it's dragging down the view of players, is it my right as a player to be like, bro, come on, man, clean this up?
Yes,
aren't the other owners
100%.
And say he doesn't represent us?
The owners all have their own problems they're dealing with, depending on which owner, other than probably the Rangers right now. But the thing is they're like, we just want this problem to end. They're like, how do we make this go away and get John Fisher out of the news every day? And let's not forget this too. This is the thing that pisses me off about this whole quote. Even if we did some in Oakland and we didn't have a ballpark till 2031. Okay, guess what? This has been going on since 1998. I remember going to Oakland in 1999, and it was awful. Awful. 25 years ago, it was awful, right? Same stuff. Sewage backing up, no cage, nowhere to get. The clubhouse is like the size of an office building. You have to walk through the fans to get to which is fine. The dugouts are terrible. You got to run 6 miles to get to your position. The fans are 7 miles away. Now, I'll say this about the Oakland fans that are legit Oakland people and that are A's fans. They are awesome.
They're great.
The ones that are true fans with their drums and their flags, and listen, they deserve better. Okay, the people deserve better than this. And I just can't. But we're still talking. Okay, they've been talking about San Jose forever, Portland, right? Now we're going to Vegas. It looks like, but I just don't understand why we can't figure out something in the Bay Area. Like, there's so many fans there. It's such a market. And I know Fisher wants out, and I get it. But the other owners, like you said, Kratz, they just want this over with, I feel like. They're like, all right, if we just ship him off to Vegas, it's over. We can move on.
Vegas is giving him hundreds of millions of dollars. If that disappeared, and I've been reading probably too much about the teachers union that's battled them. They lost one court case. They might bring something else up to try and get a public vote. It's pretty complicated and unlikely. But if somehow the public funding went away, I guarantee you they would not be going there. It is purely about money. It has always been about money.
Why doesn't John Fisher build a new stadium in Oakland? He can't. I mean, he's got enough money.
He refuses to do that. Plus, it sets a bad precedent, and that's where everybody comes in, right?
That's where the Kratz owners.
This is the fraternity argument. Hey, there's been a lot of public funding now making the rounds again. Milwaukee, right? And if he puts all of his money, which he would never do anyway, he's the wrong person to be the front runner on that side anyway. If he put all his money in and said, hey, no public money, then what happens at the next city?
Cubs did it. When they redid Wrigley, didn't they? That wasn't publicly funded. Braves, I know they did some public stuff. I know that. I know the Braves did.
Yeah, in Cobb County.
Because there was a big argument with Cobb County and the whole deal.
Yep.
But yeah, you're right. If the city of Las Vegas said, you know what, John, we're not giving you a dime, he'd be like, all right, I'm staying back in Oakland. See you guys.
He has no other options. No city wants him. Like people brought up, I think you brought up Nashville, Kratz. And Nashville doesn't want him. They want their own team. And I think they've got enough on their end already to know that they're going to be a successful city with a baseball team to say, screw you, dude. We got our own team. Like, that's the leverage. We get our own team, or definitely not John Fisher's team, or we don't get a team, right? That's a successful city. That's going to work there. I think everybody knows that. The baseball team is going to work there.
Yeah.
When it gets an expansion franchise. So anyway, we got to get ready for Carlos Mendoza. We'll swing back and get ourselves prepared for the Mets manager joining us soon on FT. His owner's cool.
The Red Sox have finished in fifth place, so many times. I know there's the championships, which, raised the ceiling a little bit or a lot, but the whole idea of finishing fifth is unacceptable. And I think, the Red Sox kind of have to reestablish that standard of, their floor needs to be just missing out on the wild card. You look at the skies falling in New York after that season, they were better than the Red Sox by a lot. And here it's kind of like, they finished last again. It happens. They fired another GM. It happens. And I think, that perception is really hurtful to ownership. But I do think those comments for Warner and, Henry through Papelbon, I guess, are telling that, they mean business and, they have the money. I think they're going to add a couple starting pitchers, maybe Aaron Nola, Blake Snell, Yamamoto, maybe go make a big trade somewhere. Like, they have the money and the prospect capital to get stuff done. So they need to go out and do it. And they need to be aggressive. And they think that Breslow's the right guy to do it.
So why did he get let go? And I mean, I love Craig Breslow. I'm happy for him, but it was just kind of a surprise timing move for me.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think that if you talk to people who are, as they refer to them in Boston, as members of the Bluminati, people who think that Heim should have stuck around a little longer, which I don't think he deserved to be fired personally. I think they should have let him see it through. There kind of was that idea of like he did everything they asked. He made some good moves. That core that they asked him to develop is here. Not just kind of the Bayo, Casas, Duran, future guys, Marcelo, Roman Anthony, but also kind of those auxiliary pieces, whether it be Cutter Crawford, Josh Winkowski, Willie Abreu had a really good September, Rafaela coming up. Like, they have a lot of talent that is pretty close to Major League ready. I think that there is just a fear within the Red Sox ownership group, and probably a correct fear, that this was a guy who was too tentative at times. He was not decisive enough. If a move needed to be made and there was a deadline, another team was pushing, he was not the one who was going to say, all right, let's go all in. And they loved how Dave Dombrowski did that. They loved how Theo Epstein did that back, years ago. And there were just too many times where Heim decided to take the passive approach and let things play out and take more of a long-term view. And, in the words of one person that worked with Heim Bloom for a long time, the Red Sox knew that this was this guy's fatal flaw.
And now, back to foul territory.
What's up? A reminder to everyone, there's plenty of football to bet on this weekend. So 1,500 first bet offer is on. If you use the code FOUL, F-O-U-L, when you download the BetMGM Sportsbook app, If you're a first-time user, sign up and deposit at least $10 into that account. Place your first wager and receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if the bet loses. And if that happens, your bonus bets will be available once your initial wager is settled. Gambling problem or concern, call 1-800-GAMBLER. And if you'd like to see Kratz and myself in person, we will be there in Borgata for the poker tournament, which begins for us. It actually technically started today. There's 2 days to enter, but for us, it begins on Thursday after FT. So Kratz will be in a mini setup. There you go. No talking. A mini setup at Borgata, you and me on Thursday. We'll do the show like normal humans, but in our minds, we will be thinking all in. Right? Right. Exactly. Do you think right now, looking at his face, do you think that he has a great hand or a terrible hand?
I would never know. I'm sorry. I'm not a poker person.
I think he has a great hand. I think he has pocket kings.
I think he has a trophy that says he's better than you.
Yeah.
No, I had 3s, 2 3s.
You're such a bloofer.
Pocket 3s, by the way, is not terrible. If it's a 3
terrible.
pops up. No, it's not.
Yeah.
Pocket 3s?
I'm winning with 9-6 every time.
Okay. Winner of the poll for John Fisher's connection with the fans was number 1, Clown. Number 2, Sell the Team, which it was tough for fans to figure out which one to go with. And number 3, Vegas, Please. Okay. We're going to talk to the new manager of the New York Mets, Carlos Mendoza, who comes over from the New York Yankees as their bench coach. We have a lot of fan questions too, many, and we'll get to them. Coming up on FT YouTube channel now.
So I can be free. I take the weight on my shoulders. I feel the sky come down on me, and I can't hold it much longer. Gotta let go so I can be free. Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah.
What's up? FT Live, Braun, Pierzynski, Kratz with you, and Carlos Mendoza, new Mets manager, was just introduced officially by the ball club yesterday, and today, Wednesday, we will talk to him right here on the show coming soon. And if you have questions, you can hit us up either in the FT YouTube chat, or if you want to go to the tweet that we put out there asking for questions. Once we bring them in, I'll start sifting through some of those that have come through because there are plenty. And we will ask some of those right to Carlos, which I think is cool because he spoke to the media yesterday. We are borderline media or media-ish, but we also are for the people. So we'll bring them in.
AJ's media.
Hardcore.
Right. AJ is more media than we are at this point.
No.
I'm like Howard Stern.
He's media, I guess.
What do you mean? He was the king of all media.
Is that what his nickname was?
Self-proclaimed. Have you seen the movie?
Kind of.
Before your time, kid.
Kind of before my time.
Now he's just whatever.
So I'd like to just rant for a sec because I feel like,
are we role playing?
No, I feel like this isn't role playing. This is my real life. Okay.
Let it out. We're here for you, Scott.
If you're in an apartment complex.
Oh no, I don't even want to.
No. Listen, okay. Just listen.
Okay.
They have a message board. Okay. And people will say like, hey, I'm selling my parking spot or I'm renting it out. Right. Things like that. I'm moving. I have a couch. Like major things going on. There are certain abuses that have been getting enlisted in terms of trying to get the attention of a lot of people. I will I will mention a very fresh example that just came into my inbox from a resident. Brand new, I'm not going to say the name of the brand, sunglasses for sale. I can't return it because it's a gift. I'm selling them for $260, and he showed the link that right now they're $319. Although I can tell you these sunglasses will be on sale in like 5 seconds, probably for less than he's trying to even sell them for. We are not doing just random used items for sale on a message board like this for essentially full price based on what they're going to be on sale for.
Does anybody know this is a baseball show and you're not allowed to talk about anything other than baseball?
Who rents
I never talk about my life.
Too bad.
You guys talk about your coaching. No one cares about your little league teams.
Coaching
No one
baseball.
cares about your high school
No, we're talking
teams.
about baseball.
And wait, guess what? No one cares about your freaking full price sunglasses for sale, so don't try to sell them to us. Stop it. That is abusing the message board.
Get off
For
Facebook one
important
time.
shit. Stop it.
Is this like on Facebook or what is this?
This is on the message board that's supposed to have important
Like the
stuff
little, with the little
for
pins,
residents.
The little pins?
You get an email for it, and usually the email is very relevant. Hey, I'm renting my
Unsubscribe.
place out, my parking space, moving tomorrow, couch for 1/10 of the price. Like very big relevant conversation.
Maybe this is
there.
relevant to that guy, person.
not what it should be used for.
Shovel my parking spot for $10.
We don't have that problem here. Don't worry.
I can start trolling it and just being like, hey, I went to
Tune
the
in to
grocery store
FBI.
and got too much turkey. Does anyone want the rest? I'm selling it for a little more because I touched it and it actually feels like I got good quality off it this time. Like, enough. Sorry, I had to go there. I'm pissed off about it. I can't
Good, I
I
love
can't look
that.
at that
You're
anymore.
leaving
fire
town
from
for a
you.
while too, so you don't even have to worry about it.
About what?
The sunglasses.
No, I'm not worried about it. I want to still get the email alerts for
Listen,
something relevant that's
After
going
going
on.
to your place on Sunday night, I'm just going to say this for the record. Even if you had a pair of sunglasses, there's a chance you might not be able to find them. Okay? Underneath some of the clutter that's in that place.
You want me to comment on this place?
This is all
This
shit
is not
you've
my
done.
place. This is your
This is
home.
all shit you've
This
done.
is your home.
This is all shit. My cleaning ladies come up here and
Don't
they're like,
start.
oh, no, I'm not touching that shit.
Don't start.
Dude, you have a full closet over there.
I do not.
You got 17 shirts.
Kratz, he doesn't give me access to anything. I go to Kratz's place. He's got like this beautiful lunch out in the backyard. And I come to AJ and he's like, don't touch this. This is
Touch
mine.
what? You taking over the
And then there's
refrigerator?
a mess.
You've
This is
taken
your
over
mess.
the counter.
I have
You've
like
taken over the
3
chairs. You've
drinks.
taken over the table. You've taken over everything.
Kratz, you go
You've
to
even
Kratz.
taken over the bathroom. I can't even use the bathroom in here. By the way, Kratz, no, listen to this. Kratz, yesterday, and he's going to get mad. I don't care. He had to pee. He had to pee
I don't
yesterday,
care.
right?
We can talk
I
about
have
this.
a urinal in the room. He won't use the urinal. What? I'm like, instead you're going to splash your pee all over my floor?
So,
Why don't you just use the urinal?
so uninviting here that you don't even know that the urinal is functional.
It's just there to look at? Like, what?
Show up at Kratz. I have 12 selections of drinks. We put them on a menu to your right. Let me know which one you would like. It'll be served also by your side in time for the show. I bring like 3 drinks of my own to the fridge. Hey, why are you using the fridge? The whole fridge. You're
Such
taking up
bullshit.
the fridge.
That is such bullshit. Just
Let's-
use the
let's
urinal,
correlate
for
this.
God's sakes.
This
Let's
feels like a
correlate this
separate
back
show.
to baseball. Let's correlate it back to baseball. Scott is John Fisher in Oakland, and my house is Vegas. It may seem like really nice, and I'm putting on a good show, but if you spend as much time here, I would tell you to get out of my house. So
Exactly.
I don't know how that went back to baseball, but
That was
we
great.
had
Kratz.
to.
You know, Kratz, if you had a urinal, you would want him to use the urinal.
I will.
If I had a urinal, I would flex that every time. I can't believe I just found out you had a urinal yesterday. Like, that is such a flex.
You didn't know that?
No.
I also have a
nothing-
Japanese toilet. Have you ever used a Japanese toilet?
Yes.
Oh,
Is that the one with the warmers?
That's
it's
okay.
got the remote control and it does things
Yeah, no, that's
that should
okay.
be-
That's
that are
kind of
illegal
mid.
in 47 states.
No, that's mid. That's mid. That's like, yeah,
That's
you sit
mid?
on a warm toilet. That just
Oh.
feels like somebody else just sat down on it, and that's kind of
not if it's your own toilet.
well, somebody may have come in and just the
Who? There's
cleaner
no one
may
else
have
coming
just
in my
popped a
house.
squat.
Scott's not allowed in that part of the house.
Okay, that's what I like to do. On a
And I
rela-
have his and hers, so it makes it even better.
and I will only be using the urinal from now on.
Not
related-
not the way he wants
On
to
a-
use it.
On a related note, on the same topic, where would you rank the NL East this past season? I am serious though. As we get into our Mets combo, where would you rank the NL East as a division? Because I think heading into the year, there were some cases that it might be the best division, if not the second best division to the AL East. Did it end up being the case? I'm not saying yes or no. I'm curious, and you guys know I mentioned the AL West as being better than I think most people anticipated. It had a pretty bad bottom to it, obviously, with Oakland. Oakland was the urinal. You think it was number one, Kratz? You think
Number
the
one.
NL East?
I think the West was 2, and then the AL East was 3.
Okay.
Wait, repeat that again.
NL
Power
East 1.
rankings.
AL East was 1.
NL East was 1. AL West was 2. And then AL East was 3. I know AL East bounced in the first round. They had 0 wins. I get that. But I feel like, and that's why I think the West overtook them. You have the Astros. Yes, you have Oakland. You have Oakland at the bottom. But the NL East bottom is the Nats. And they were just, like, Oakland was terrible. The Nats were just neat. Like, they were neat. Like, it was cute.
Okay.
Where did he go wrong?
I think AL West is hard to not put with Houston and Texas winning. It kind of pumps them up a little bit, and Seattle was in it till the end. Angels are decent. Obviously, Oakland doesn't try, so that they're like, just wash them away, right?
Mm-hmm.
NL East, though, Dodgers. Diamondbacks made the World Series. Padres were finished over
NL
500.
West.
The
No,
question
NL
was just last year, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm going off
This
last year.
past year, just like
the Rockies,
we say.
the Rockies are like the A's to me, just kind of wash them away. Right?
Yep.
I mean, they're The Giants tried for the first half until Gabe blew out their bullpen. They were done. But yeah, I mean, I think the NL East was disappointing. The Braves and Phillies, the Mets weren't very good. The Marlins were better than we thought.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Nats were.
Marlins were a playoff team.
Marlins
That's
were
why.
a playoff team.
Braves were the best regular season team.
Yeah.
Phillies
I think
went
the
pretty
NL East
far.
is probably the thing about the NL East is you have 4 teams that can spend if they want. I'm
4.
throwing the Nats in there. 4.
Yeah.
You have 4 teams that can really spend. The
Yes.
Mets, the Braves, the Phillies, and the Nats. When they want
Correct.
to spend the Nats, now that they're clear of Strasburg, they can kind of.
I don't know,
if he ever
man.
officially retires.
They have so much. I want to see what happens to the Nats because of all of that deferred money. They're going to be paying Scherzer and Strasburg for the next, I think it's 12 years.
They have money if they want to spend it, though. That's what I'm saying. If they want to turn it on, like they did in 20, like they signed Jason Worth to that ridiculous contract at the time that people were like, "What are they doing?" It got him a World Series.
But they didn't have it.
Here's a great question for you, then, Kratzy. Would you spend money and then have to pay for it for 10 years, like the Nats are going to win a World Series? Would you do that? The Nats did it. They won a World Series.
Yes.
That's basically like saying, would you mortgage your future to win a World Series? Would
Dave
you trade
Dombrowski specials. usually.
Gleyber Torres for Aroldis Chapman at the time? Remember?
Cubs did it.
Of course.
I don't
Anyway,
know. Would we trade? I'm trying to think who the Mets. Would we trade
Save
Mets
it.
best starter?
save it. Let's get to the Mets.
I know.
Ready? Carlos Mendoza, new Mets manager, joining us right now. Carlos, congratulations. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks, guys. Scott, AJ, Kratzy. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you got a
How
good
you guys
crew.
doing?
We're great. So,
Dímelo. Está fría ahí.
there you go. Take
Mira
us
la
through.
pétala.
Well, now, Kratz, you gotta translate for us. Help us out.
Oh, no. I said, is it cold there?
It is. I just
Yeah.
came from outside and right into it.
So Carlos, let's just start with the intro press conference. How was it, and what was the most interesting question that you got?
Man, that's a good one, Scott. It was a great day. It was a really good day. I enjoyed it. I'm glad that my family was able to come up, especially my parents, flying all the way from Venezuela. Last minute, not easy, but I'm glad that they were able to come and enjoy this special day. It was great. A lot of familiar faces, and yeah, I enjoyed it. So. As far as
Who
the
was happier?
question, I don't know. It's New York, right?
Yeah.
but I was pretty prepared, and I enjoyed it.
Who was happier, you or your family, for you to get this job?
My family, for sure. Not that I wasn't. I was, I was speechless. Dream come true, right? But my family, because as you guys know, all the sacrifices, especially my wife and kids, and then my mom and dad, but especially, wife and kids, and all, daddy's away from home for a long time. And with me doing Winnable for the past couple of years, like he was a sacrifice, all the way, when I started coaching and playing. And so, yeah, it was a big day, and, we enjoyed it.
You got to the big leagues finally in 2018, right? When you got on the
That's
Yankees. Correct. Yeah. In your time, in the last, so that's 6 seasons, have you wanted to be a manager more? Like, has that made your passion to be a big league manager more? Or have you seen things that you're like, I kind of like being a bench coach?
No, you know what? I was always trying to be the best version of Carlos Mendoza, right? How can I help guys? How, just be the best version of yourself, right? And at the time when I first came up, I was the quality control coach / infield coach, and at the time I didn't know what the quality control was supposed to do, and but then once I became the bench coach, that was my biggest thing. How can I help Booney, and take as much as possible off his plate, and that was always the goal. Opportunities came, and I had some experiences talking to other teams, for potential managerial interviews and all that. But I'm very excited about joining the Mets now.
Carlos, can you do us just one little favor, please? Can you just center yourself? Because we want to see all of your face. We don't only want to see half. So there you go. No, see how you're kind of off to the side?
I know. That's better. Don't know. Better?
Okay, no, see, you keep moving. There you go. Perfect.
Yeah.
Got it.
Welcome to the New York media. There you go. The first question, because I don't know you, obviously, I don't think I've ever met you, but Kratz knows you, says great things. People have said a million great things about you. So the one question I want to know is, you're from Venezuela. So
right.
Was Ozzie Guillen has. Please tell me he's not your hero as a Venezuelan manager.
I got so many stories with him, because when I first started playing in Winnable, I played with Ozzie.
How old was he? Like 60 years old at that
time? He was towards the end of his career, probably his last year. So, yeah, and then when you guys won, he brought the trophy. Joy Cora was the manager at the time.
Yes, he was our manager, right?
Yeah, so I was a player for Joy, and Ozzie, kept coming back, and he will hang out with us in the locker room, and yeah, I know him pretty well.
So, well, no, because now correct me if I'm wrong, you're only the second full-time Venezuela-born manager, right? It's you and Ozzie. So
yes.
When you go back to Venezuela, that's a huge deal, because, listen, I've been around Ozzie for 20 years now. And Venezuela, right? But he tells the stories. When he goes back, people still are like, "Oh my God, you're Ozzie Guillen."
Yeah.
So now for you to be the second guy, and you talk about your parents and your family and everyone, that has to mean so much to not only you but also Venezuela.
Yeah, it was a great day, not only for the Venezuelan people, but the Latin community. Especially with the people that knows me and what I went through and the grinding. Playing in the minor leagues, not reaching the big leagues as a player, and getting an opportunity to coach at the big league level, and now being named the manager is something that I don't take lightly. I'm very proud of it, and I'm happy to represent our country.
Did Ozzie call you?
He texted me.
I was going to say, that son of a bitch better at least reached out to you. Otherwise, I'm calling right now and be like, "Hey, what are you doing?"
He texted me. I saw him this year. We talked at the stadium when we were in Chicago. A lot of stories, as you know.
Yeah, a lot of them you can't tell on this show either.
We can tell all of them on this show. But if he's a White Sox, like AJ's a White Sox, he doesn't necessarily want you to do great, because he wants to be the jefe in Venezuela. So, AJ doesn't really want the White Sox to win another world championship, because that way he's always we're the only one to win the world championship, all that stuff. So don't let Ozzie take your flame away here, okay?
He'll be very proud. Hopefully that's the case. That we're having this conversation, and he'll be the one coming to Venezuela with that
Yeah.
trophy, hopefully, right? So
Now, when you came to the United States in '97 and you were playing in Salem,
yep.
did you think it would take this long till you were like having a moment that like meant, wow, I am now like I've arrived? Or did you think, hey, I'm going to be in the big leagues super soon, just like my hero?
So, Kratz, I'm going to be honest with you. Yeah, the goal was always to play in the big leagues. I was just surviving. I was, 1996, coming from Venezuela. I thought I knew a little bit of English. And I remember, getting the first day of instructional league. And the coach said something to me as simple as like, how was dinner or how was your flight? I had no idea what he was telling me. I was like, oh my God, like, not only the language, where I didn't know what to expect, like, let alone, like, yeah, the goal was always to play in the big leagues, but it was just a big transition for me. 16 years old, coming to another country, not knowing the language. It was hard, man. It was hard.
All right, I have tons of great fan questions. I actually want to start with a statement first. So Mike in our YouTube chat said, I wonder how much easier the transition is since Carlos doesn't have to worry about uprooting his family since he's just taking a job across the city. I'm sure you were looking for the right fit, just like the Mets were looking for the right fit, but it doesn't hurt that you're still in New York City, right?
Yeah, and I was, when David first called me and, like to start the interview process, my kids and wife, they were, very, very happy because they love New York. This has been home for us the past 6 years, and they're pretty familiar with everything, here. And the fact that I get the opportunity to stay here in New York and now do it with the Mets as the manager is special for us.
All right, so here's another one from Armand who wants to know if you'll have final say on the coaching staff. I think you were asked yesterday about it. You probably haven't gotten to all of that yet since you just got the job. So sure, if you want to just lay out your entire coaching staff or your wish list for us, we'll take it. But if not, how does the process work? Like, what's next? Do you sit down and say, hey, here's who I want? Does the front office say, here's people that we've already spoken to? Take us through the process.
Yeah, there's a bunch of names thrown on the table right now. We're going back and forth. We got a lot of positions that we need to fill in, and we're just beginning that process now. Listen, the news came out, I think it was last Monday, but there was nothing we could have done because I needed to go back, past background check and all that. So I was kind of like feeling with my hands tied. It was like, man, I got to get to work. I got to call people. I got to call players. And that didn't happen until Friday. So we are in the very early stages of putting together that coaching staff. And like I said, we're getting calls and texts, and we're throwing out names out there to kind of narrow it down and start the interview process for a lot of the positions that we got here available.
Mendy, I don't know about your background check, but you are not passing a physical. So I am sure they didn't give you a physical.
I passed, Kratzy.
Okay, good. I'm glad you passed. What is David Stearns like? Did you know him before this interview?
No.
Yeah, I knew him from being with the Brewers. What is your impression of David Stearns in the little week and a half, 2 month that you've known him now, and how he's going to turn this Mets organization around in the city of New York, which you've been in for the last 6 years?
Humble, super smart, but somebody that cares about people and relationships, and that goes a long way for me. That's what I'm all about. The people, relationship, process. And he's just a great human being. When I first started talking to him, I was like, oh my gosh, this is a humble guy, and we connected right away, and going through the process, and it was great, and I'm happy to partner with him.
So I'll mix in two fan questions that are kind of on the same topic here. This is very popular all the time, so you'll get this more from fans than from media, right? Because we know that in an organization, almost all of them, there's a pretty good mix of information that's being passed around that helps to make decisions, right? So Ronald said, are you allowed to make your own starting lineup every day? are you allowed to make in-game gut decisions during a game? And then Liam asked, how do you like to structure your lineups? So all around that topic of how you get to that process, which you're coming from a team where you were with the Yanks, you got to see how that worked every day.
Yeah, listen, it's not a secret that everybody's using some type of information, right? When it comes down to making out a lineup and, managing a bullpen, all that, the information is great. But I think it comes down to people, getting to know the people, having a feel for the game. This is a game of adjustments, and you're going to go into a game with plan A, B, C, and D, and then you're going to have to execute plan and, you name it, because the game will tell you what you're going to do. As far as lineup construction, there's a lot that goes into it, like who you're facing, what's your roster, that's where it starts, but the information's great. But at the end of the day, it's about having a feel for the game and being able to make adjustments. There's an art to it, right? When you're managing, when you're coaching, and that's all part of it. Yeah. But to answer your question, you use the information, but then that's why you prepare. Preparation gives you confidence, and that's how I'm going to approach it. Right? You have to make adjustments. I'm going to surround myself with great baseball people, great baseball minds. They are going to be prepared, but they're going to be there to support me and advise me. So yes.
Carlos, what did you learn from Aaron Boone? You were there for a while underneath Booney. What was the one thing he said to you that stuck and that you're going to carry over now to the other side of town? When you go in the Subway Series, you're going to be like, Aaron Boone taught me that. I'm going to use that against him.
Oh, look, a lot. I consider him a friend, big brother. He gave me the first opportunity to coach in the big leagues. Number one thing, he's consistency, especially here in New York, having a good support system outside of the baseball field, which is my family. I learned that a lot from him too. And then just how the way he earns the respect from his players, and that's something that just by watching him doing his thing day in, day out, I learn a lot from him.
What's the one thing you're going to miss the least about being a bench coach?
Spring training scheduling.
Dang it! I was gonna say besides spring training schedules.
Man, those are long days. I mean, I remember my first year doing it back in 2018. I was getting to the ballpark at 4 a.m. and I was getting home by 7:30, and I still felt like, man, I don't have enough time, And but I had great people around me that helped me and guided me through it, and I could say that. Last year, when I was doing it, I wasn't getting there at 4 a.m., but I was getting there pretty early.
I was there in 18, your first year, and you didn't look panicked at all.
Well, I don't know about that. I guess I fake it well, but I wasn't getting much sleep.
You looked like a chicken with his head cut off.
There you go. You saw it right away. Yeah, it wasn't easy, man. It was a big transition for me coming from the minor leagues. Even though I was doing some of that as a field coordinator, lower level field coordinator, coordinating spring training in New York, it's a challenge.
I'll keep being the fan question guy. So Mills asks, do you think you'll have a better relationship and rapport with Spanish-speaking players as opposed to other managers that don't speak Spanish, I think is what he meant to say. Can you relate to them more? Is the communication that much better? If yes, how would that manifest itself after all is said and done?
Look, the way I see it, you have to treat everyone the same. Yeah, I'm bilingual, and that will help, in some of those conversations that I have with some of the Latin players. But at the end of the day, you treat everyone the same. You respect everyone. You earn the respect from everyone. And that's, building relationship, having those connections, showing that you care about people, whether you're, from Venezuela, from Dominican, whatever that might be. It comes down to people and relationships. And no matter where you're coming from, you're going to get, the best version of Carlos Mendoza.
Have you hopped on the 7 train yet to get to your new job?
Not since I got the job, but when for the Subway Series, I did all the time. I didn't want to drive. I just took the 7th train and let's go, straight shot.
But now you're the jefe. Now you're the guy.
I don't know about the jefe, but
dugout jefe.
You're the jefe.
Yes. We'll see. I love getting on that train, but we'll see how it goes.
So, Carlos, getting a lot of questions from fans asking about the dynamic of mixing in young players, right? It was talked about a lot last year with the Mets. Hey, we've got some prospects. How do we time out when is best to bring them up? Which obviously the front office has a say too, because you're not watching the minor league games all the time. But even once they get up to the big league level, especially if it's a top prospect, making sure that they develop, but also get everyday reps so that they're not coming up there and having to sit unless I guess maybe it's late in the season. So what have you observed? I know you were with the Yankees, so you probably haven't gone too in depth yet on the current situation, but what do you observe from what the Mets have in terms of some of the younger talent that got to mix itself in last year and the dynamic between that and maybe having to tell a veteran player, hey, we gotta push you aside a little bit?
Yeah, no, there's a lot of talent here, and especially after they made those move during the trade deadline, and they acquired some of the players that are going to be ready to, to compete here in New York, and I'm excited to have those guys. And there's always development, you're always teaching, you're always coaching, whether you're, a prospect or whether you are established player, they want to be coached as much as possible too, and that's the balance, right? But at the end of the day, just creating an environment where everybody feels welcome, especially these young players coming up. I think it's important for them to feel comfortable. Because at the end of the day, it's just baseball, right, that you're playing. But holding them accountable, showing how to prepare and how to respect the game and how to play the game the right way. Those are some of the things that are important to all of us.
Carlos, have you slept since you got hired? Have you slept since you've been told you're the manager of the Mets?
Better now, AJ. Better.
Okay.
A little bit better now.
Because my next question is you think you're in the manager's office, aren't you? Because the thing
I am.
So how long does it take you to rearrange the office? Have you already taken Buck Showalter's stuff and been like, you're out, I'm in. Let's go.
No, I came in for the first time yesterday, and he was ready to go. And listen, now that you mentioned Buck, man, so I'm not replacing Buck. This is a potential Hall of Famer, right? And people, don't forget the fact that they won up, more than 100 games in 2022. So he started to create a winning culture here that I'm just coming in and looking to continue to add to that culture. So a lot of respect to Buck. Competing against him, you needed to be prepared. So this is an honor and a privilege to be sitting here.
Okay, so as the new manager of the New York Mets, have you reached out to Lindor? Have you reached out to Pete Alonso? Have you reached out to some of these guys? Is that the first thing you make? As soon as they say, hey, Carlos, guess what? You're the new manager of the Mets. So you're like, I need all these guys' numbers. Because I think if I was ever hired, the first thing I'd want to do is get to my
100%.
players and introduce myself, right?
100%. And that's what I did. But again, I needed to pass my background check, AJ. So
do they fingerprint you and they run you through the database? I mean,
no, it's just information that I needed to be filling, and then it takes a few days for them to go through it. But as soon as I got the green light, I think I've talked to pretty much every position player. I'm still texting guys. They don't know my number, so I'm still waiting to hear from them. But the guys that you mentioned, Lindor, Pete, Nemo, McNeil, all of those guys, Edwin Diaz. I spoke with all of them. Man, the other day I had a conversation with Pete Alonso, and we were on the phone for 45 minutes. And, I felt like we could have kept going. So, no, it's been great. It's been great, AJ.
So last one here. Can you give us one really interesting piece of info that you learned, say, in that call with Pete or with any of the Mets players that you were like, I didn't think about that?
No, I don't think anything stuck out. It was more like getting to know each other. I want them to get to know me as much as possible. I got to earn their respect, and that's going to take time. And it's starting now. So that's the purpose of making these phone calls now. And I'm planning on making visits and have a face-to-face, and so they can get to know a lot more about Carlos Mendoza,
Carlos, gracias for your time, but I got one more pregunta for you, okay?
Yeah, Kratzy.
How soon are you getting thrown out of your first game? Because you said you learned a lot from Booney. So how soon is it? Are we talking April or are we talking May? Because it's cold in April.
Spring training.
people talked about that he's never managed before at the big league level. I was told, I don't know, somewhere in the middle of the year when Booney, in a period of, in a week, he got thrown out like 3 times. I was like, man, you're the 31st manager in the big leagues, Like, I got to manage quite a bit by being the bench coach for Booney, but, I love him. So.
That's awesome. That's why he's big brother, because he allowed him to kind of get some reps in there. So,
Yeah.
Carlos, congratulations.
Thanks,
We'll talk to you in spring training. Enjoy the ride here in the off season. Know it'll be busy as hell, and have fun.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, AJ.
Hey, when you swing by Lindor's in Orlando, feel free to stop by. Lindor can buy us both dinner.
There you go.
We're here. Cheers,
Thanks,
Carlos.
guys.
Thanks, Carlos.
Take care.
Thank you.
Gracias, Carlito.
Awesome.
He was awesome.
Great energy.
You know what? Yeah, I was going to say his energy and the way he, like, you could sometimes when you talk to managers, you kind of look at him and you're like, is he really excited? Or are they just stressed? He was, you could just feel like his genuine excitement. That like, I'm the man. He's literally thinking in his mind right now. He's like, I'm the manager of the New York fucking Mets. Like, let's fucking go, Mets.
And I'm going to live that
right. And I'm
every
going to
day.
live it up. And I'm going to do it. And dude, I mean, he's a guy you like want to, let's go, man. Like, I want to go play for that dude.
So some skippers, though, Kratz, they give you the whole play cool kind of thing. And often I feel like it could be someone who played in the bigs for a while and maybe has a little bit of an ego or whatever. Like, this guy never made it.
Never made it, which some people will be like, he might be super giddy, like, oh, gee willikers, I'm the big league manager. No, he's going to show you when he's pissed off. He's going to show you when he's happy. And he brings a positive, consistent message that, you know what, like what he said, he's like, I'm always trying to be the best, whatever his title is, he's always trying to be that best title. Minor league coordinator, big league bench coach, quality control coach, whatever it is. And he's always trying to do that. And that's what he does. Like, and he has those conversations with guys. I would have loved to have heard how much Pete talked. I had so many more questions, but how much Pete talked compared to how much Los talked, how much, Mendy talked compared to how much Lindor talked. And, he just has a great feel. Yes, he's bilingual, so that helps so much. Yes, he played, but also he was in the minor leagues. He was seeing the analytical stuff. He was seeing how information was passed on to Booney that he might be like, I don't know if I should hand this on, but I'm handing this on. Or, wow, yeah, he needs this. And so as a manager, now you're able to filter that and say to your bench coach, whoever he ends up choosing, hey, I don't want that. I don't want that information. But his bench coach has to be a guy that has to be able to say, Mendy, like, you need this. And he's a guy that will say, okay, I do need it. It's like you have this big, huge ego, and yet you want everybody to try to bust your ego.
Also, what stood out to me is when he said, everyone should be treated equally. Well, duh, right?
No shit.
But in my mind, you guys can tell me this. If a manager, and I'm not saying they shouldn't have a job for it, but if a manager can't speak Spanish and there is a player that only speaks Spanish, is that player at a disadvantage because he can't have the same communication with his manager without a translator? You guys are the players, so you tell me how that works. Is there an issue there sometimes for a player who feels like he can't really get the same vibe, or he's kind of scared and you just have the language barrier? It's real.
Then that manager has to spend that much more time talking to that player. If you don't know Spanish, if you don't know enough Spanish to make a player feel comfortable, the same thing will happen if you have a Korean player, if you have a Japanese player. Like, you have to make him feel comfortable, whether that means, finding out if him and that player and his interpreter are close, or if the interpreter is just there, just regurgitating the words that you say, because you can translate things, but how you translate them in your inflection and how excited you are or how pissed off you are when you're telling somebody, that's how you get to really make that connection. And you saw it. You guys all saw it. I saw you guys typing in the Slack. It was like you guys could see this guy has something different than other people, and you guys have all talked to hundreds of different managers in your careers. And he has that. And yes, he's bilingual, and he can translate that in Spanish to those guys so that they know. Because Venezuelans even speak a different Spanish than Dominicans and Puerto Ricans. So, the slang that you use is really that connection too. And your inflection, like sarcasm. Like if somebody spoke Spanish to me, if somebody used sarcasm in Spanish to me, I'd be like, I don't know what he means. So you got to think about that from an English standpoint to somebody that kind of knows Spanish. So that's where the connection and the extra connection as a manager that he's going to succeed with is going to come into play.
By the way, I mean, you're talking about interpreters. When Tadahito Iguchi came over, he brought his friend that was his interpreter.
Yeah.
He didn't speak English.
The interpreter didn't?
We had to get rid of him after like 6 weeks because he couldn't speak English.
Oh, no.
The poor guy. He was so embarrassed.
Oh, because he picked him.
He brought him over because he was like his buddy.
Yeah.
But he's like, I speak English. But he
G-Man
didn't
did that. G-Man Choi did that. I played with G-Man Choi 4 straight seasons. He didn't have an interpreter. Mostly in the minor leagues we played together. He didn't have an interpreter. 2019, we played together. All of a sudden, G-Man Choi's got a interpreter. I'm like, I asked one of the guys on the Rays, I go, why does G-Man does he have an interpreter? Is it because he did better last year and they got him an interpreter? They go, no, it's his buddy. So he was like explaining to his buddy what was happening. And then it was hilarious, but his interpreter was awesome.
Yeah. So
that's like a free all access pass for a friend.
Except we needed Iguchi to be able to communicate with him.
Well, yeah, that's
so
it.
we would talk to him, and the interpreter was like, he'd look at you, and you're like, okay. Because we had to get some random guy, like, I don't know. Like, we had to get some random dude to come and interpret. It was crazy. It was funny. The dude was awesome. He was funny as hell.
I have one more thing, and then we'll slap. So he mentioned this multiple times, Carlos, and I thought it was a little bit standout as well. I'm like, this got announced already. I said, where's Carlos Mendoza? We knew that he was going to be the Mets manager for about a week. And there were lots of jokes online. Like, is this the, physical situation like we joked about? I will say this just for context, because we can talk about this shit on this show. There are a lot of names in the past 10 years that have been either part of a manager or GM conversation with the Mets that have not made it through for a variety of reasons. That's probably why I would think they have a more extensive background search process. Ugh. So the easiest one is Carlos Beltran.
Wally Backman.
That wasn't he whatever. Oh, well, that was a while ago.
No, he was Diamondbacks.
But I'll give you the direct examples. Huge problems for Mickey Callaway. Huge problems for Jared Porter. Zach Scott had issues. Some of these names you might have already forgotten.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Porter and Scott were both. Scott was the acting GM for a little bit.
Yes.
So
remember the one
just
guy?
Google all these guys. But I'm saying these are recent.
Was it Joe McElwain that was in Port St. Lucie sunbathing naked? Was that?
See, you're going to go too far back for me. I'm talking about dudes in the last few years, but I'm just saying. Carlos, great dude,
but GM of the Mets. What was his name?
McElwain? That's not during my time period.
I don't know. I know the names that Scott's talking about because we talked about him before, and it was like the one guy he was like the GM for like 56 days or something like that. It was crazy. Womp womp.
I think that was
McElvain.
Zach Scott.
You guys, Joe McElvain.
What year?
God dang it. 99.
Stop it.
Way back.
Cool.
Scott was in high school. He was in middle school then.
I was not in high school. I was in middle school. So anyway,
he went to a nude beach
for
and
the
it wasn't
kids.
a nude beach. That's kind of a good story.
This stuff was worse.
He went to a beach and he thought it was a nude beach and he dropped trout and it wasn't a nude beach. So he was a great guy. He came over to the Twins later. He was awesome.
They dealt with
got
sunburned. Yes, he did get sunburned. The wrong place. Hasn't recovered since. But anyway, they dealt with some shit. So whatever. They did a longer background check. I'm actually interested in that stuff to hear that. It's like, hey, they put him through. They're like, listen, dude, we got a big background check because we had some issues where we didn't know about these dudes, and some of them had some serious issues. So you can Google it.
What's it called? Wasn't it George O'Leary, the guy who got the Notre Dame coaching job, football? And then they're like, yeah, you didn't really go to school, so yeah,
fake resume stuff.
Yeah, like he didn't even get. He was the head football coach at Notre Dame for like a week, and like, oh, we're gonna look into your background of like you have a master's in kinesiology and brain surgery. Oh wait, you didn't actually go to college. So, yeah, I mean it's crazy. It's crazy what the internet will do to you.
You can sell yourself, but make sure you went to the school. All right, let's slap. All right, Kratzats, you go first. What do you got?
Little Buffalo Bisons. The
Buffalo.
Bisons. Which actually, there's no Buffalo anymore. There's just Bison.
What do you mean?
So they're really the Buffalo Buffaloes.
No.
I'm
No,
confused.
Buffaloes are Bisons.
Yeah, so they're the Buffalo Buffaloes.
Buffalo.
They're
What?
the Buffalo Bison, so they're the Buffalo
Buffalo's the
Buffaloes.
city. Buffalo Bison.
I had
But you just said Buffaloes are now Bison, so if they're the Buffalo Bison, that means they're the Buffalo Buffaloes.
No, I said there are no more.
They should be like the
Buffalo.
Buffalo Chicken Wings or something.
And none of
Bills.
the Bisons that I saw had any wings. So I think that's a
You've
Rocket.
clearly never seen Buffalo Wild Wings commercial. The guy's like, I can name all 25 sauces. Am I annoying you yet?
I like what he's singing.
Yeah.
That's
Pedro
gonna be AJ
Gomez.
on the, that's gonna be AJ on the cruise ship.
Oh, karaoke. It's karaoke
Whoa.
night, everybody.
Oh, I want to plug this again because it's around the corner and it's important to many in the media world. The Pedro Gomez Foundation Golf Tournament and Auction. The late legendary Pedro Gomez, who is a really special part of the baseball community. Auction items include a 4-night stay in a special spot in Colorado, 4 Red Sox box seats at Fenway. There's Miami Heat tickets involved, and a lot more. Plus, just check out PedroGomezFoundation.org to see if you're available to go. You'll see a lot of people in the baseball world. I'm sure players, coaches, writers. Ken Rosenthal's talked about this multiple times. He's a good friend of his and many others.
I love Pedro.
Great guy.
He's one of the best dudes to just sit
awesome.
down and chat with. He was
Yeah.
awesome.
And even if you didn't know him, you could have a 20-minute combo with him and then feel like he's genuinely your friend. And then you could say hi to him and feel like you've got a dude that you can talk to at the ballpark the next day. He was awesome. So he's very missed. Kratz, I will see you in South Jersey on Thursday. Exactly. For a little poker action. But before that, we will do a show and just talk about baseball because that's what we do on FT. So appreciate everyone. We're ending, I guess, a little earlier than usual because I got to hit a flight. So
You guys better
Bye.
win, because if you don't win, oh man, when I get back after Thanksgiving, you guys are in trouble.
you can't talk shit unless you play. Bye.
Yeah, I can.
Bye.
It's the best part. I can talk shit anytime I want.
I don't talk shit about your guys' playing career because I didn't play.
Bring it, bitch. I don't care. Bring it on. I don't care.